So the other day I was scrolling through my chronic fatigue syndrome groups and I noticed these crazy new terms out there. Rolling PEM, PENE, and PESE.
What does that mean?
Now, this lingo is going faster than my brain-fogged brain can handle.
My circuitry's 12 years out of date.
So I had to try and figure out what these meant so I could understand what people were talking about.
I have no idea what's going on.
And I figured if I was having a hard time with this, you guys probably are too. So I'm going to make a video on it. And I'm going to explain them in a brain fog friendly way.
That sounds nice.
So that you guys hopefully don't have to do the research like I did. So what happened was I'm on the internet researching around and I see this Reddit post. And the question stated in the post is, how aggressive the rest to prevent rolling PEM? Now, I was stopped in my tracks by this. I'm like, rolling PEM? What the heck? Like, I think I know what PEM means, but rolling? And reading the actual Reddit letter didn't help me figure out what this meant, because as I'm reading it, it just made it sound kind of like it meant pain based on the way they were describing it and using it. It's not pain. Okay, so first off, to explain what rolling PEM is, we're going to explain what PEM is. PEM, P-E-M, is of course post-exertional malaise. Now, what is post-exertional malaise? Well, the definition, according to the CDC, is the worsening of symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome following even minor physical exertion, with symptoms worsening 12 to 48 hours after activity and lasting days to weeks. Okay, so that's PEM, post-exertional malaise. So what is rolling PEM? Rolling post-exertional malaise is basically when you don't recover from a flare or a crash, and then your post-exertional malaise crashes or flares accumulate over time. So you're basically not done recovering from your last crash, and you cause yourself to get another crash that adds on to what you're still recovering from with the last one. And then another one, if you get another one, adds on and adds on. And it's basically like, as they say, snowball rolling downhill. It just kind of builds and builds and builds. And it ends up being a horrible, debilitating thing. This is what takes us from mild to moderate and severe chronic fatigue syndrome.
So that's how it happened.
After months or even years of accumulating and accumulating and accumulating this post-exertional malaise crash or flare, it just builds and builds and builds to the point where it gets to be debilitating. And I think that's why a lot of us that have this are athletes. We're the ones that didn't know when to stop trying to break through that wall. And we kept hitting it and we kept hitting it.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
What's that then?
I've had worse. Just a flesh wound.
And I think that's a big reason that we are so many of the ones that aren't recovering. Whereas a lot of people that were able to spontaneously recover just rested because they felt like resting.
I'm going to bed now.
Whereas we didn't allow ourselves to because we were the athletes that pushed through.
Check me out. Such a beefcake I can't even get through the door.
And did things even when we were sick. And, you know, we could do it. We're stronger than that. And now look what it's done to us.
See what I mean? Not very bright.
So that is rolling PEM, and that actually makes a ton of sense. Like I said, if you think of a snowball rolling downhill,
like a snowball gathering size and speed as it rolls downhill,
accumulating more and more snow as it goes, or other things rolling downhill.
Poop. It was poop.
The term really makes a lot of sense.
You always think it's the other guy that'll turn into a giant snowball, never you.
And I actually do really like it as a way of explaining our constant fatigue getting worse, because it's you kind of feel embarrassed after a while where you post, oh, I got another flare. Oh, I got another flare on top of my last flare. And people are just kind of like, huh? What?
What? How do you feel bad?
So that is what rolling PEM is. But what is PENE and PESE? Because as I was looking for the terms and definitions for rolling PEM, I found PENE and PESE. So PENE, P-E-N-E, Post-Exertional Neuroimmune Exhaustion. You might see this in some posts too, so I'm going to go over it now. Basically, PENE is a really fancy way of explaining post-exertional malaise, PEM. Or it can even be used as an alternate to PEM. If you just get sick of saying post-exertional malaise, or you think people are skipping through it and not paying attention because they're just so used to seeing it.
Oh no, not this again.
Yes, Francine. This again.
You can use this instead. It's basically the same thing. In fact, some people prefer this to post-exertional malaise because they think it matches up better with what they're actually going through.
You know, I actually like that better.
So post-exertional neuroimmune exhaustion. They think it really sounds more accurate to what they're feeling, sounds more dramatic, so maybe we'll get more help.
More accurate and fun.
Etc., etc., etc. And that brings me to PESE, P-E-S-E. And that stands for Post-Exertional Symptom Exacerbation. So again, this is another alternative to saying post-exertional malaise or post-exertional neuroimmune exhaustion.
It's the same thing all over again.
The difference with this one is used more in any long COVID research studies or articles you'll find. I mean, really, do we need to keep making up all these new terms just to fit each thing when they mean the same exact thing? Like, why did they make up this new one just to go with long COVID? It means the same thing as PEM.
Sounds like a scam.
Now, the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that it's because they're trying to separate it from the chronic fatigue and ME people. And if they keep it separate enough, they don't have to double up their research to also help those people.
Those bastards have done things like this before.
If they separate it, even though it's the same exact thing, by giving it a new word, they don't have to also go into what other things post-exertional malaise is part of, i.e. chronic fatigue. So I kind of think this is just a way for scientists to be lazy. Just saying.
Chillingly plausible.
And the weird thing is, for making all these different words for the same thing, there are other things that happen that there doesn't seem to be an actual word for yet. For instance, why isn't there a word for the PEM delay, the post-exertional malaise delay? Most of us do not feel the effects of post-exertional malaise until 2 days later. Even the CDC description admitted that. So why isn't there a word for that? The fact that it takes up to 2 days to kick in, basically, after you overdo it. I mean, this is a lesser known part of PEM, and so I would think that's a more important thing to define, to call attention to. But hey, what do I know?
Fine, stupid question, forget I brought it up.
Honestly, it's hard enough to keep up with all these terms. I'm going to try and keep you guys updated with videos every time I see new ones. Please also contact me, email me down below.
Yeah, it's like an adventure every time the mail comes.
If you have anything you want me to kind of go into or look at, you guys can always contact me down below with my email or just comment.
I was thinking gossip notes, love notes.
But with all these new terms coming out and half of them mean the same thing, it's a good thing to know, and I hope this helps you keep up. Thanks again for watching this whole video. It really helps the algorithm. I hope to hear from you in the comments, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Keep on surviving, my friends.